According to a journal article by Child Welfare titled Foster Care Statistics in April of 2018, they stated that on September 30th of 2016, there were an estimated 437,465 children in foster care. This is a very scary number to see because it is more than 3 times the size of Topeka, Kansas. So you could fill a whole city with all these children, which is not good. And it shows how much work the foster care system really needs to be able to fix this, and it's key that we make these changes now, otherwise this number is going to steadily increase. Odds are someone you know is familiar with the foster care system or has been in it themselves. And children that are in these foster care systems, they're going to become a part of our society once they turn 18. So no matter what, we need to it's our responsibility to prepare them to be ready for the world. Through researching various sources, we have become more confident in our topic. Our thesis is to solve the deficit of housing in the foster care system, the U.S. government should provide incentives for social workers to help get more families involved in the system. So first, we will provide why there are not enough social workers in the system. Second, we will discuss why this creates a need for more houses. And lastly, we will explain what steps the government should take to solve this problem. Now that we have previewed the main points, let us go on to discuss why there are not enough social workers in this field.
So one of the largest issues when it comes to social work is that we're really understaffed with social workers, and so when they're assigned cases, oftentimes they're given far too many cases, and they're overwhelmed and they can't give all of their time to each of the cases. And so as a result for that, they're not receiving sufficient pay, and no one wants to stay in the field. Therefore, there's no people for the children to reach out to because they don't have enough space. But a 2019 article from Old Lady of Lake University titled "The Social Worker and Child Advocacy" said that a social worker is often the only voice these children have. And if social workers are the only resource that these children have, then they're not going to have anyone to reach out to. And so our suggestion is that you implement social workers into schools and you give them a resource that they're able to reach out to and ask for help. And doing this will provide them with a reliable source of support, and they'll feel a lot more welcome in their schools, and this will help children that are in foster care because if they are in a bad situation, then they'll be able to reach out to someone and get out of it. But a lot of times these children aren't even in foster homes. They are put in places called respite care, which is where they go night to night and they have to stay at a new house every night. They haven't even found a family because these social workers are so overwhelmed and they're unable to find these children homes. We believe that every child deserves equal opportunity to get into a foster home, and we think that implementing these teachers into schools and finding more jobs and increasing the pay for social workers will get more people into the field. And now that we've discussed why there's understaffing in the social working field, we're going to talk about the cause of the understaffing.
Okay, so the cause is that there are not enough homes. There are nearly 500,000 children in foster care, and we don't have 500,000 homes. So that increase in the demand for homes is necessary, and the increase in the demand for homes provides the need for more homes in the system. So according to the 2018 article, The Foster Care Housing Crisis, they state that through their recent state-by-state research that there is a housing crisis in the country. And this issue allows them restricts them from achieving their purpose. And their purpose is to reintegrate the children with their families, but when that's not possible, foster care is the next step they take. And so when we don't have a home or a place for the children to go outside of their biological families, children are going to be in group homes or on their own in other areas that we don't have the ability to make quality areas. The goal is to provide the quality areas for the underprivileged children, and according to the 2019 updated website Families for Children, the expectations of foster care parents is to be over the age of 25 years old have background checks and to have a stable income for like monthly expenses and to be able to support their families. And there's a lot more, but many people see these expectations as restrictions, but we can't just send a kid to any home that we don't have any knowledge of. But these expectations still make it a little daunting to become a foster parent, which is a problem. So we need to educate people on what being a foster parent really is and how it can really benefit the children, and it can help those 500,000 kids that don't have a safe place to live every day. So now we're going to talk about the possible solutions for our problem.
Yeah, so we're talking about how the U.S. government, what they can do for the foster care system. And so we have kind of a two-part solution. The first being that since we've talked about how these caseworkers, which are social workers, are caseworkers, they handle each of these children. So you as a child in the foster care system, also as a parent, as a foster parent, you would be assigned a case manager or caseworker that would, you would be their case, and they would take care of you, and they're supposed to, by law, they're required to meet with you once a month. And so the problem is, right, that these caseworkers have 40 plus cases each. And, you do the math, there's only 3 days a month, and like 23 of those are business days. That's just too many. That's too many cases. That's like way too many to actually invest your time into. So the first part of our solution would be that the U.S. government has to mandate the number of cases that a caseworker is allowed to have. So a good number for that would just be to start at 20. By mandating the number of cases that a caseworker is allowed to have, you're ensuring that that caseworker is able to invest themselves into the child, into the parent, and really figure out what, who they need to be referring the parent to, who they need to be referring the child to, what kind of help can they give them, actually doing their job as a caseworker. So the second part of our solution would be that since you're limiting the amount of cases that one caseworker can have, you're going to need more caseworkers, which we've already talked about. We need more social workers, we need more employees in the system, and as an incentive for that, the U.S. government should provide financial incentives such as student loan forgiveness or other incentives. Like they do for teachers. Teachers are offered student loan forgiveness if they're, go to university and then they are invited to go teach in like an inner city area where they're really needed. Then, some areas will offer like student loan forgiveness. They'll pay off those college loans just because they really need them there. So in the same manner, we really need social workers. There's some areas that we really need them, so we could offer those financial incentives, and that would come from the U.S. government. So I had the opportunity to review a huge paper that studied just basically this system, the foster care system, throughout a ton of states in the United States. And they noticed that there was a housing deficit in almost every single state except for New Jersey. And for some reason, New Jersey was like the only state in the United States that has a surplus of foster homes. They have more foster homes than they need for the demand of foster kids that need homes. And so these guys went and looked at what is going on there, and what is New Jersey doing differently. And Lloyd Nelson, who's a communications staffer for Foster and Adoptive Family Services, explains that the reason he thinks New Jersey is successful is that it provides ample resources. Nelson said, "We have board rates, we have workers, and we have agencies like Foster and Adoptive Family Services that make it easier for you to be a foster parent." So ultimately what it comes down to is we don't have a deficiency of good people in our society that would want to be foster parents, really. What the problem is that since there's not enough workers, since this entire system is understaffed and underfunded, then it's just kind of like a messy system to get involved with. If I want to be a foster parent, then the prospect of becoming one isn't so palatable because it's just messy. So by staffing that system, by providing social workers and just more opportunities for people to to speak with people in the system, then you're making it more palatable of an idea to get involved with the system. So I got the opportunity to speak to Debbie Cox. This is my mom, just to clear the air. She is actually an attorney. She works guardian ad litem and child in need of care, and she works directly with these kids. She actually represents them in a court of law for these children that that their parents lose custody of them, that their parents are unfit to take care of them, be it for whatever reason. She will represent the child and try to get them placed in foster care, maybe adopted, things like that. So she's a professional in the field. She has a legitimate opinion, and she was the one that provided me with the information that caseworkers are frequently swamped with 40 plus cases. And I called her yesterday. She was talking, literally yesterday, she spoke with somebody who is a foster parent who has had a foster child for 5 months. I mentioned earlier that you're required by law to see your caseworker once a month. And this foster parent was talking with her, and she was like, yeah, I've had this foster kid for 5 months, and I've only seen the caseworker once. So these caseworkers, they can't handle the workload, and what that results in is either them just not doing their job, or there being a really high turnover rate. So these caseworkers will frequently, social workers will get into the field, and then they'll figure out, like, this is not what I thought it was, this is overwhelming, and they'll end up quitting. And so that's another problem that my mom touched on, which was that these children don't have one caseworker that can really invest themselves into their problems. They have multiple caseworkers, and it just doesn't work. Switching from caseworker to caseworker. She said, quote, I think that there should be a limit on the number of cases that a caseworker has. And so that's really ultimately what our solution is. So now that we've talked about the solution, we'll wrap up and review our main ideas.
The U.S. government should provide a better incentive for social workers to provide better incentive for social workers, better pay, and because the foster care system is understaffed and there's not enough homes to make the demands for the children in the foster care. So first we discussed how there was not enough social workers in the field. Secondly, we discussed how there's not enough homes to meet the demands of all the children being put into foster homes. And lastly, we discussed how better pay and better education would be a solution for the foster care system. In closing, issues in the foster care system remain prevalent today. By making these changes, we can find a loving home for them to flourish in.